Film has no place in the modern world of fast-paced motorsport photography.
My job is amazing, but it isn't always fun.
Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio.
And this is Ward.
And we're at episode 243 for the end of November 2025, which also happens to be the country code for the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Congo.
So, yeah,
Okay,
so now we're
far
moving out of
away.
the country again. Yeah, far away. So if anybody in the Congo is listening to us, please drop us a line and say hi. We'd love to hear from our international audience. I've been checking our stats lately, and we've been up technically. It says for 11 years, but I know I started this in 2013, I believe. So I think we're 12 years, but. With all that, we're up to episode 243, which I was hearing that a lot of podcasts don't make it this long. So I think we're doing pretty well.
Well, that's up to you. I'm just comic relief here these last few years.
You're the comic relief. That's why I got you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we needed the comic relief because this show became too serious at some point, but, thank you for sticking around for so long. And for everybody who's listening, we're grateful for all of you guys and the support and the guys who are subscribing to our Substack, which we're a little behind on and stuff, but that's all great, so. But anyway, if you're from out of the country, we're recording in the United States and Canada. So, drop us a line and let us know where you're from. I get stats to say we're dropping episodes everywhere, but we'd love to hear where people are from. So how do people drop us a line? Did I figure that out? What's the best way to do that?
We have the speak pipe thing.
We did have the speak pipe thing, but then people talk, and some people don't want to talk.
Okay.
I think maybe drop us a line on our Instagram accounts until I get our website set up. I'm going to switch websites. I'm going to put our site onto a Squarespace site that I've got for teaching, and I'm going to shut that down and that's my winter project so that we have a nice cohesive site. But you could drop us a line on our Substack or our Instagram accounts, which that would love to hear from you guys. But anyway, how are you, Ward?
I'm doing well. We got some freezing rain today, so yeah, awesome.
Okay,
winter, it's a coming.
Yeah, winter's coming, which means spring will come soon after that.
Okay, I can't. Yeah, okay. This is got to get through this first. And
yes, I hear it. Push through the thing. Yeah, it's going to be my first Midwest winter ever, so I'm really curious about that. What else? What have you been up to?
I went to a photography related talk. Let's see, last week. Let's see, when would that have been? It was the two photographers who shot at the Olympics.
Oh,
and
right. You mentioned
sports,
that.
yeah, and shooting winter sports mostly, and any other kind of sports that they've done. And it was a nice talk. It was inspirational, and also nuts and bolts. Things I hadn't really thought about, like your safety when you're at a venue. Like what happens if you get pushed over or whatever? What are you going to do with your camera? How are you going to stuff like that I don't normally think about when I'm shooting sports. So I thought that was kind of fascinating, interesting. It was a good talk. It was nice. So so that's what's been going on. That's what's going on with me. How about you, my friend? What's going on?
Not much. We had that recent Sky event here in Nebraska. Right. We had the Northern Lights hit as far down as here. I think they even got further south. So this was the first time I was able to get pretty pretty awesome pictures of this. I mean, the last time in New York, they weren't quite there, and I was on the roof and I was taking long exposures, and I got a little bit, but I really couldn't see them. And here, we went out into the middle of somebody's farm, I think, which hopefully they didn't mind, or they didn't notice we were there. And I brought my phone and my X100, and I literally was setting up my X100 on a hat as a tripod on the car hood, and, and setting it off with a self timer release. And I got some insanely intense pictures. I've never got them before. And the phone, surprisingly,
Yeah, the
so
phone
anybody's got
really
an
good job.
iPhone, the phone was like, it's almost like letting us see it through it. I could see it in the sky. It wasn't as bright though, but the phone really pulled out the details. And I got these amazing pictures, which I was really, really happy with. And I happened to post them on my Facebook photo site, and then shared them in a Nebraska photo site. And I've gotten the most amount of response. It's still growing. The amount of response on that is like the first time I've reached over 10,000. It was like a 10.1 thousand at this point. Maybe tonight it's a little bit more views and reactions, and so many comments. I can't respond to them all. So is that what it means to be like popular in the social media?
Maybe all you need is a spectacular celestial event.
Yes, so some select. Yes, so I think I'm really privileged for that, and I was just getting all these great comments. There's just too many to respond to. It's like I'm trying to get thumbs up. But anyway, I've never taken pictures like that before, and what was fun is that I took a sort of an Ussie of Angie and myself, and I set up the camera on a time exposure, and then we lit each other with our phones while the the Northern Lights are behind us.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a lot of fun. Then we took with our flashlights in front, and we painted the light on a tree in front. Right. So it was a lot of fun. I recommend, and it made me think about forgetting the Northern Lights. It just made me think about how fun night photography can be. Like when I'm out there at night, and because night is always the kind of time, like I don't want to go out at night. I want to watch TV, and I'm tired, and it's dark, and it's cold. But when you get out there with like a flashlight or the tripod, and suddenly like things really change, and it's just a nice, it's a nice difference to do. So I know there are people out there who do night photography, and I really wish I want to do more of it. Let's just put it that way. So I don't know if I want to do it in the middle of the winter, but that might be a great time. That's nobody else is shooting.
Many times when the Northern Lights come calling, we have people over between Christmas and New Year's, and come on, and it's like 11:30 at night. But get out there before Santa arrives, and you go out and you have a look at the Northern Lights, and you get some pictures, and it's become kind of a tradition. Anytime in the wintertime, unless it's super cold, to go out and shoot the Northern Lights. It's something.
Well, we were sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden I got a buzz on my watch that our brother in light, Mac, from the Shutter Time with Sid and Mac sent a message to our group saying, and I looked at my watch and I saw a picture of the Northern Lights, and I was like, oh, right, there's Northern Lights. And Angie and I were sitting there, and I was like, look at what Mac took. And we looked at the picture. It was like, she want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go. She drove us out into the middle of somewhere, west where we are. I can't remember what direction we were going in. And so if Mac had not put that picture up in our group, I might have just like sat the evening, let it go by, or might have gotten out there too late. Someone might have posted.
It was
a picture
clouded over here, so we didn't get it. But yeah, no.
The sky was.
I'm really glad you got to experience that and see that.
There was a wacky.
It's like is there a sound? Like, what is this? Like, am I in a science? There's this kind of not creepy exactly, but this kind of awe. Yeah. Particularly when it's when there's magentas and oranges and yellows and colors you just don't ever see. Like, what is this? Like you can read about what the phenomenon is, but when you're staring into a sky that's usually black and maybe has a bit of a Milky Way thing going on, and then you see this color, it's like, what is this? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I see more of it. I hope the winter. I hope we get a little bit more solar activity. But yeah, that's all I've been doing. So what's on the agenda tonight?
On the
It's
agenda
like,
tonight, we
it's
have a
like, it's-
guest. We're
do
talking
we
and
have a
talking and
guest?
talking like we don't
We're
have a
talking and
guest. We
talking.
actually have a
Yeah,
guest.
we do have a
Okay,
guest.
so we're in my wheelhouse a little bit, and that you may or may
Yes, we
not
are.
know that I'm a big fan of racing pictures and racing photography, and we have the opportunity this evening of talking with Jamey Price, who's a world-renowned and award-winning photographer of Formula One, sports cars, what we call endurance racing, which is the 24 hours of Le Mans, 24 hours of Daytona, NASCAR. He's sort of done it all. And he has a new book that's coming out. It's available for pre order. And from what we understand, it's just starting to ship now. It's called Racing Unfiltered, a year in motorsports captured on film. The publisher was very kind to send us an advance copy. And I'm going to cherish mine because there's pictures he took of a race that I attended. And yeah, so we sat down with him for an hour or so, and it was a really great discussion.
All right, so why don't we get right to it now? Thanks for joining us in Street Shots tonight. So really appreciate
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Are you between gigs right now, or?
Yeah, we used to get a decent off season, and then the world fell in love with racing, and racing seasons got longer and longer and longer, and now I don't really get an off season. So I leave for Vegas tomorrow for the Formula One race, and then obviously we have Thanksgiving, and then I go to Abu Dhabi for the final F1 race the following week, and I'm there for like 9 days, I guess. And then I get an off season, and then we do Daytona all over again.
That's right. So there's a we'll talk about the schedule a little more here. Before the main Daytona race, there's what's called the Roar at the 24. Do you attend that? It's like a test session media thing. You get to go to that too.
The Roar used to be a lot of fun, and it's now turned into the hardest, like, basically 3 to 4 days of my entire year. It is relentless, nonstop from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night, and it's just testing. It's crazy. So yes, I'll be last year for the Roar testing week, and then we get 2 days off, and then you go straight into race week. I didn't have a single day off for 13 days. I didn't have a single like afternoon off for 13 days. Right. But the upside is it's great money. I can charge whatever I want to these people because they've got to do it. Everybody needs their photography for the season basically done in those 3 days. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with it, but it's great money and it's honestly I really enjoy it. It's fun to have that pressure to for real clients that have real cars, and it matters. It's not just being out there for fun. Like it's a really, really important part of the year for everybody.
Cool. So that's today. That's how we're living today. I want to get back to your origin story. Just talk for a few minutes about how you got into photography, and then we're going to get into this great book. So you didn't go directly into motorsport photography at first, right? I read somewhere you started you started in the UK, and before you were a photographer, what were you doing before that?
I was riding racehorses, not professionally, but semi-professionally. Like I would get paid for it, but it wasn't a full-time gig. It wasn't something that I was going to make. I wasn't making enough money on it to live on it, but it was kind of like bits and pieces. And, I was getting paid cash in hand kind of, which is honestly a fun way to live when you're young, when you don't have any responsibilities, you don't have a family, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have car payment really. Like everything's great and it's easy and it's fun. So I went to college in a very small liberal arts school in Kentucky and called Center College. And at Center, it's really, I loved my time there because it's such a small school. It's not like going to UK or Duke or Chapel Hill or, one of these big D1 program schools, there was like 1,400 student body. And we did have a student newspaper. And at some point when I was a sophomore, I got my first camera and I just fell in love with it. Like, I was taking it to every sporting event that I could possibly find. I was taking it to my swimming meets that I was competing in. I was a collegiate swimmer for all 4 years at Center. Swimming, freestyle, sprint, mid distance, and distance events. So between my events, I would just grab my camera and I would just take pictures of my teammates and my friends. And these are basically my family members that you're with them for so many hours a day. And you just get this like really fun rapport with people because it's your family, and they're not going to like be weird around you. You see that genuine interaction. But it also taught me, anybody that's ever covered indoor swimming knows it's about one of the hardest sports to cover next to volleyball because the lighting conditions are atrocious. Yeah. So I was taking my camera to these swimming events and I was like, whoa, this is really not easy photography. And Center, the other kind of downside to Center is that it doesn't have a photography program. There's no photography classes. There's nothing for me to really learn photography. So everything I've learned has been by doing it and learning it and figuring it out and taking pictures and I'm trying to understand what didn't work and why it didn't work. Right. And I was really lucky that I had all these different collegiate sports, from football, soccer, volleyball, lots of swimming, to practice on, and there's no credentials needed. You can literally walk onto the football field with a camera and, because all the student bodies out there, it's like going to a high school, like a small high school football game kind of thing. And it was really fun. But while I was also competing as a swimmer and in college, I was also riding racehorses. And I'd kind of picked that up when I was in high school. And horse racing is an amazing sport. It's a beautiful sport. It's a really photogenic sport. And you have all the same things that we love about motorsport. And even people that don't necessarily know anything about motorsport, you can kind of see in motorsport that there's lots of personalities, and it's fast, it's colorful, it's loud. Obviously horse racing isn't loud, but you have all the other aspects of a really fun thing to cover and to photograph. And it also has a danger element as well, which is kind of also fun to photograph. Like, it adds that extra, like there's something at stake here, if that makes sense. So I was riding racehorses and I was doing essentially the same thing I was with swimming. I was just bringing my camera to these races that I was riding in, or I knew people riding, or I was, with one of the barns or stables that I was working for, and they had horses running in one of these races, and I would bring my camera, and nobody's going to stop a jockey that's just like I was literally in like a flak vest and silk pants and riding boots, and like I had my helmet around my waist and like, or in my arm, and like the security guys aren't going to like stop that guy because I'm meant to be there. So I just had a 7200 on my shoulder and my helmet in my other hand. And it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to be able to document like a professional sport, but also people really quickly realized that I knew a lot about the sport, and my images from that sport were, I guess, different than what they'd seen previously, because I could kind of focus on the jockeys and the trainers and the people that were working with the horses and the horses themselves, and the beauty and color of the sport and the action and motion of the sport. And it was a lot of fun to be able to do that. And it's a truly beautiful sport where you have all the color from the fans, and you have, women in fancy sundresses and guys in seersucker suits and bow ties and, big sun hats. And it's just a really beautiful sport, even not just at like the Kentucky Derby level, but all the way down to, what I was kind of ended up doing in England and Ireland, which is what we call point-to-pointing, where basically they just get a bunch of people out in a field, and there's a lot of alcohol involved with the fans, and and like they have professional betting, like the bookies will be out there taking bets on people, and literally they're just racing in a field. And this is a $1 billion industry in Ireland. And but it's also incredibly beautiful. And again, nobody's going to stop you if you just want to wander around and take pictures of the race with a 70 to 200. And it was great. I loved it. And it was a really cool part of my life to be able to look back on and document and have, my memories captured forever just on my cameras.
Right. And
Can
so
I
you
ask how long you were
transitioned
doing
from,
that for? Oop,
sorry, I was going to say
sorry,
you
Ward.
transitioned from that to motorsport in the UK.
Yeah, a little bit. So when I was over in the UK, the amazing thing, and I think that the Brits don't necessarily know how lucky they are. Like they're like, oh, you had to drive so far to get to a track. I'm like, 40 minutes? Like, okay, boo-hoo. Meanwhile, like my closest track, excluding Charlotte Motor Speedway, is like a 2.5 hour drive. You could pretty much cross the entire country of England in about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And hit about 8 racetracks between there and then. So, while I was living there, there was lots of different tracks to be able to go to, lots of different events that you could go to. So I kind of just went to a bunch of different stuff that was kind of around my area. And again, like a lot of it was just club track days at Scorton, which is at this tiny little racetrack up in, or Croft is the name of it, but it's this tiny little racetrack in Scorton, North Yorkshire, which nobody's ever heard of. They run a British touring car race up there. Yeah. And it's really low key and fun. And, like I kind of started dabbling in it, and I had a couple of internships when I was at Center College, so I had enough of a background with having covered a little bit of racing just as a fan that I kind of started really kind of understanding how motorsport is different in some ways to horse racing, and that you can't just do it the exact same way, but there's a lot of carryover and crossover with what works with other sports and what doesn't work with racing, but there's a lot of crossover.
Cool. And so then you did that, and then that tenure with the steeplechase and the point to point came back to the US, and then you just went back home and lived with your parents for a while, or you
kind of. Yeah, I mean, I did about 6 months with my parents, but after I moved home, which was trying. But it was also like, I'm very grateful for them helping me. Like while I was getting a full-time job in Charlotte, I started working for an alarm company at the time. But so when I moved home, I was like, I really want to be a photographer, but I don't know how to make this work. But I love sports and I love motorsport, but I don't know how to make this work. And so I thought I was just kind of, not that there's anything wrong with this, but I thought I was just going to be resigned to doing weddings for the rest of my life. And I'd done a lot of weddings as an assistant. I'd covered a couple on my own. I knew the money was really good. It's not super hard. Like it's enjoyable. It's artistic. It's fun that your clients actually do really love, like there's like a passion to it. It's not just taking pictures of something that nobody cares about. Like that was something that I kind of learned the hard way doing the internship stuff at a couple of these newspapers where, one day I'm giving myself an assignment to go cover lawnmower racing, or to go to a track day in South Carolina, or to, cover a Panthers game at Bank of America Stadium. And then the next day, my assignment is to go take pictures of potholes on the street because there's a story that they need imagery of, like, Charlotte's roads are falling apart. What are we going to do about it? Like today, this is the opinion article, and they need a half-page picture of a pothole that is somehow to be made interesting for people to like consume. And so I realized very quickly, it's like there's stuff that's important. Like at the time, there was a lot of protests about the Iranian government. So there's a lot of Iranian Americans that were in Charlotte that were protesting stuff. So I got to cover protests, but then that matters. But then, I get to go cover a sporting event, which I love. And then the next day I'm doing potholes, or, some business is shutting down and they need a picture of the outside of this building that's no longer being used. Right. And I was like, maybe weddings is great because at least people care about the pictures. Like somebody cares about these, and it's really good money. Newspapers were like already dying, but it was cool to work at a newspaper, like where they still had the printing press in the building for the Charlotte Observer at the time. So it was cool to kind of be there at the end of like the printing press world for small, medium sized papers. Like even the Observer would be a relatively large paper, but I got to work as part of a photo team and under a photo editor. So somebody's looking at your pictures and giving you feedback on them. You learn about a lot of different, like, not just styles that people have, but you're also dealing with high volumes of images. So they're really like teaching you how to use photo mechanic and all these things that I still use today, and that have been like really crucial and instrumental in my career working in motorsport, in that I'm, I have to be able to tell stories, even if it's about a pothole or something that I don't find interesting. One of my teams can hand me a bottle of motor oil, or, I've done so many different kinds of really horribly boring photo shoots that are somehow related into the motorsport world. And you have to make it interesting. You have to make it beautiful. You have to make it clean and what the client wants. And that was a lot of stuff that the newspaper world really taught me. It was important, but not always fun. And I thought the weddings was like, well, this is my future. And then I kind of started getting a little bit of traction with, I was still covering horse races at the time as well. And I kind of met along the way a couple of people that worked for different agencies. And one of them, I got the opportunity to cover the Kentucky Derby for an agency, a smaller agency, which has turned into now a bigger agency. And this agency, the people there, they introduced me to a couple of people at Getty Images. And that really started to turn the wheels a little bit, because I was this young kid. I was 25, 26 maybe. And they're like, what's your deal? What do you want to do with your life? You don't want to be a newspaper kid. Like, do you want to be a horse racing photographer? And I'm like, no, I know there's no money in that. I'm not that stupid. And they were like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I love car racing. Like, I really love car racing. And they're like, cool, we need help on the NASCAR side of things, because Getty had just gotten the NASCAR contract maybe a year or two prior to that. And so that was their like really big account, that they had like 13 or 14 photographers at each race covering each NASCAR race for Getty Sport, the editorial side, but also the commercial side, that Getty had a contract with NASCAR. So there's lots of different like meet and greets, and they had some team clients at the time too. So it wasn't just working directly for NASCAR, but I got to cover some racing, and that just led to meeting more people and more people and more people. And it really started to snowball fast once they kind of realized that A, I had the drive, but B, I had the kind of newspaper background where I could kind of do the meat and potatoes, boring stuff, but also throw in an artistic picture or two when asked to do so. And it kind of really, it worked to my advantage quite well.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt too that you're living in Charlotte, which is kind of the epicenter of NASCAR.
It did help being in that right area. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're kind of day to day. So what does your client list look like now? And then we'll get to the book. We'll talk a little bit about your day to day and a couple of circumstances, like shooting circumstances, which I think folks might find interesting. But yeah, what's your relationship to your clients, and how many do you have? Like, not a number, but what is it? What's it feel like for you to be out there and who you're working for?
It's sometimes still like, a pinch me type moment where I get to work with the biggest brands. Like I've worked with, from Toyota to Ford, Porsche, Lamborghini. I've worked with Ferrari, Red Bull, just like a bunch of different Formula One teams, Aston Martin. I've been really fortunate to work with lots of different drivers from lots of different like levels of series. I've had my work published in so many different magazines. It's honestly hard to remember some of them. Like the ones that really stand out to me were like the New York Times. Like I had a back page of the New York Times because Lamborghini won the Daytona 24-hour, and so they licensed a bunch of images on that. And it's really been like crazy when I look back at, I'm just a racing fan and I've always loved racing, and now I get to work with these drivers. I'm working with the biggest teams in racing, and that they know me and they trust me and they rely on me. And I have deep personal relationships with the people that are at every level. Like, I have the CEO of Lamborghini's personal cell phone number, and we text on different jobs, and he'll like ask me personally to send him pictures from some of the races that I do, or pictures of himself when he's at the races. And I'm really, it's not lost on me that is like not normal, and it's really cool, and I'm very proud of that. But it's come through a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, a lot of, it's literally lying and sitting in the rain for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end, and in some ways just hustling and grinding more than most people are going to be willing to do, but also will ever know that I do. Like, there's so much, like the iceberg meme mentality, like where you see the tip of the iceberg and that everybody's like, oh, you live such a glamorous life jetting to the Formula One races. And, you have these drivers' phone numbers, and you text with them, and you hang out, and you're having dinner and pizzas with them. And it's like, yeah, but you don't see the other part.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that I'm very proud to work with, a lot of different brands like Lamborghini, that I've been working with them for going on 14 years now. And it's cool. And it never gets old, really.
So there's now you go to these races around the world now, and I had showed before we were recording, I'm wearing one of my hats from one of the racetracks, and I was very fortunate to be a guest of the sanctioning body at the Daytona 24 Hours this past January, and that's a 24-hour auto race, and it's a very unusual. It's not like necessarily going to a Formula One where the actual racing aspect happens in about 90 minutes to fit on TV. Well, and then we call them endurance races. They're not so great for TV unless you're a super fan. It's 24 hours of racing, and then there's this whole long weekend, and the week starts on the Wednesday, and this happens, and night testing, and rain, and whatever, and all this kind of stuff. So let's just talk about the race for a second. What do you do? What's your schedule for a race like the Daytona 24 Hours?
I'm with Daytona specifically. It's a hard one, and it's probably one of the hardest weeks of the year for me, with just the client load that I have, because you're really shouldering a lot. Like, I'm very fortunate not just to have myself, but I have two photographers full-time that work with me, working for the clients that I cover. And then I also have an offsite editor helping to handle the amount of images that we're producing. But regardless of even taking all of that out, I've done so many Daytonas just on my own, without an editor, without any assistance, for working for multiple manufacturers and teams and drivers. And our day starts at, like, you're setting your alarm, like your alarm's going off at 6:30 in the morning on Saturdays, maybe 7 a.m. on Saturday, and you're at the track by, at the latest, 8, and I don't leave again until about 8 or 9 the next day on Sunday, and I generally won't sleep. Daytona is one that I normally don't sleep, just because it's just too busy, and everybody's like, oh, but it's 24 hours. Like, you've got to have all the time in the world. And you would be shocked how fast a 24-hour goes. Like, you'll literally be 3 or 4 hours in. You're like, I have an idea for this picture, but I'll do it later. Like, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it, whenever. And you just never do it, because you get up the next morning and you're like, well, the light sucks, so I'm not going to go do it now. And then you just never do it. Or you're like, it's a mile walk that way. I'm not walking a mile right now when I'm half asleep against a catch fence. But you're like on pit lane. You're in the garage, the paddock area. If somebody has a crash or an accident, you're jumping in the garage with them while they work on the car. you're still covering cars on track, pit stops when they're happening. With Lamborghini specifically, I'm doing meet and greets with their executive staff, with journalists, and hospitality pictures. It's like you kind of do a little bit of everything. Like you're doing wedding photography on top of candid portraits and also race car action, and you're having to figure out how to be creative throughout what ends up being a 38-hour day. Like by the time you get to the end of the race on Sunday afternoon, the race ends at like 2:40 or something like that. They change it every now and then, the time, the start time.
There's a sign in the camping area that says, something like 1:40 to 1:40 happy hour runs from 1:40 p.m. to 1:40 p.m.
Yeah. But it said, like, I remember last year I was lying on the ground in Victory Lane because I was just so tired. I was just exhausted. And I was sitting there, and it was a beautiful sunny day, a little bit chilly kind of, but the sun felt really good. And I was just lying there. I was like, I could fall asleep right now, like right here, right now on the floor in Victory Lane. And that was about at 3:30 in the afternoon before you even edited a picture. And that's the other side of it that is really hard, is the deadlines. Like the pictures for our races are almost meaningless hours after a race. Like unless your team won, they almost don't care about what happened in the race. Like you're delivering pictures throughout the week, throughout the weekend, throughout the day, during the race. And so they'll have a stockpile of images from the previous practice days, but you're also producing images. If we get like 4 days of ugly cloud like we had this past year, and then suddenly race day is bright and beautiful and blue, they're like, we're just going to throw all the pictures you took for the rest of the week out, and you need to make a whole new gallery for us from today. And we're like, okay. And that's just the job. And it is what it is. But social media has just changed everything. It's changed the delivery times. It's changed they want to post pictures throughout the day on Instagram, on Twitter, on wherever they can do stuff. They'll do, depending on, some of the manufacturers will do like hourly updates for like a press release. So they're really honestly truly asking for pictures regularly throughout the race. So that's pretty hard, where it doesn't, there's no like slowdown. And then when the race ends, if that team didn't win or they're not on the podium, then they almost don't care. We're on to the next race, maybe a couple weeks later for Sebring. And, if they did win, then it's a whole different thing, where they're on the podium, and then there's team pictures and there's celebration pictures, and they're getting, they're having champagne in the garage, and like, doing pictures on track with the car really beat up and dirty, and all the drivers celebrating in the team, and everybody's celebrating, and you don't sit down again until like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And the race ended 4 hours ago. And it's hard. It really wears on you. I've noticed that as I've gotten older, it's definitely getting harder. And
I've noticed as a fan.
Jamie, let me ask you something, since you brought this up. How do you make sure that you have enough coverage? Like, you're talking about all these different, drivers and cars and stuff like that. How are you knowing to cover everything? Is it just because the race is long enough and you're able to get shots of everybody, or you have the other photographers helping you, or like how do you make sure?
Yeah, with the lead up to the race, like that's where you kind of get your big stockpile of images, like candid portraits of drivers or mechanics working on the cars. Night practice is a really good one, where you can get lots, because the night, unless it's raining, night is night. Like, it doesn't matter if it's clear skies or cloudy skies, night is night. So you'll try and just get as much as you can from the night practice sessions or the day practice sessions that can kind of tell the story for what they're going to need for the race. And then once the race starts, the on-track action is really easy. Like, relatively speaking, it's really easy, because they're going to do like 700 laps or something around the Daytona Speedway, and they're going to go by you. If you're standing trackside, they're going to go by you 700 times. So you can get whatever you need out of that 700 times. And I'm not going to be trackside for all 700 laps. I'll be on pit lane. I'll be sitting in the media center, like ingesting pictures, but I'm trackside for a good like more than half of it. Like let's call it four to 500 laps. And so you get a lot of chances. So I know that I can get my clients going by me, and I'll go to different locations. You're walking a lot. You're never sitting in one spot for very long. But then the really challenging part is going on pit lane, getting pit stops, getting driver changes. You try and do what you can. That's where I really lean on the guys that I work with, that we will split it up. It's like a divide and conquer. Like I'll say I have Fred, and this past year I had Fred and Brennan, and I'll be like, Fred, you go cover Lamborghini. Brennan, you go cover the Porsche team and the Ferrari team, and I'll cover, these other pieces that need to be covered. And between the three of us, we'll do like a pit lane stint from 1 to 3 a.m. type in the middle of the night, or like 11 to 1 in the afternoon, and we'll kind of like get what we need out of it. But it's very much like, I'm very lucky to have really good people that work with me, and I trust them. I can send them to do anything that I would do, and they would come back with beautiful images, and I have to be able to trust them to do that.
So let's get into why we're really talking with you today, and
Which
that
has nothing
is
to do with any of that.
which has well, it does sort of.
Somewhat.
So
yeah.
I have a vague memory of seeing you standing in the gap in pit wall at Daytona with a little, I think it was the little blue plastic. I don't know, was it Rusty Wallace's Miller Lite? Yeah, it's a little plastic camera thing, and I was like, oh, okay, he's doing something here. And then, by the way, I don't like to bother you guys. I see you guys around, and I don't like to bother you. But so there's I think it's Jamey, and he's standing there with a plastic camera, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is an interesting project. And now I understand why. There's this book that's just coming out. It's for pre-order right now, right? I think it's
I think they're just getting their first shipment of actual books from the publisher, from the print lab.
And it's called Racing Unfiltered, A Year in Motorsports Captured on Film. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw a YouTube video or an article where you were kind of, it was a bit of a rant on film elitism and people shooting film. And so, but then I find a slight irony here, in that this is a book that's all got film in it. It's not an elitist book, though, is what I'm getting. So this is... No. It's very cool. So what's the genesis of this project?
So you're right about the YouTube video, and I still in many ways still feel the same way. Like, to condense what I said in the YouTube video was basically that I feel that film photographers of a certain generation in modern times have this holier than thou mentality about film, and that it's just better. If you take a picture on film, it's just going to be inherently better than what you could do on digital because it was done on film. And I have the highest respect for the motorsport photographers that came before me, especially, doing this on a professional level, how they did what they did with film and these cameras that didn't have really any kind of gizmos and widgets and all the things that we lean on to make pictures now. They did it without any of that, and it's so incredible to me. But I kind of found one of these cameras on social media, and there's this photographer that I follow, and I saw him taking this Jeff Gordon film camera around, and I was like, I have to have it. I have to have this camera because it looks like so much fun. And the pictures from it, in this guy's video, didn't look half bad for what it was. I was like, it looks like a disposable almost, but you can reuse it. And so I ended up finding a bunch of them on eBay, some pawn shops, and just here and there. And I started collecting them, but I brought one to a test with Lamborghini, and I only brought maybe 2 or 3 rolls of film and one camera, and I brought this thing to a test with Lamborghini. It was a private test, so I could kind of like anybody that's ever done a test day, it's so boring. Nothing happens all day. The car is sitting in the garage in pieces, and then it'll go out for 10 laps, and it'll come back and sit in the garage for an hour. So I'm just kind of playing around with this film camera while one of the other cars is going on track. I was like, well, this is fun. And I get back and basically none of it worked. Like I loaded the film wrong, or I don't know. It just basically didn't develop. And I was like, okay, well, this sucks. So I kind of like played with it and tried to figure out what I'd done wrong with the camera, because it doesn't come with instructions. Like it's just super basic. Like these cameras are $15 to $18, $20. And, it probably sold for $9 at the time at these NASCAR races, because they literally were sold at NASCAR races in the late 90s. But they come with no instructions on how to load the film, the settings, what to expect, like nothing. And so it's really truly trial and error. And so I played around with it at home, and then finally we had Daytona 2024 come around, and I was like, well, I'm gonna bring the Jeff Gordon camera. I bought the Jeff Gordon camera. I brought like 5 rolls of film, and I was like, I'm just gonna see what happens. And so I figured out how to load it and what kind of to expect from it, and I shot 5 rolls or so. And when I got it back, I was like, these are really cool, because there's some moments in there that I'm not getting on my digital camera, because you pick this thing up and people just look at you funny. They're like, what is this? Like, I still get it.
Yeah.
And it's different than holding a big, bulky, camera and like a 70 to 200 in your hands, or even like a small lens. Like, they see it differently. So you pick up this little dinky disposable looking NASCAR car that has like a plastic lens, and they just start laughing. Like, you just get these really cool, genuine emotions from people. And it definitely has like a different feel to it. And so I shot those 5 rolls and I got them back, and I was pretty happy with how it looked. And so I just kept going with it. And eventually people kind of were essentially saying like, what are you doing with this? Like, what is the point? And I was like, I don't really know. I don't know what the point is. I'm just having fun with it, because it definitely did open doors with my digital camera that I wasn't getting with just me holding my digital camera. Like, I would do a little bit on the film camera, and you kind of like bring people's guards down. Like, you can't just walk into a Formula One garage. Like, they don't let that happen.
Right.
Doesn't matter who you are, unless you're working for the team. You can't just walk in the front of a Formula One garage. And I literally walked up to the front of the garage, the Visa Cash App, like Red Bull team, and Daniel Ricciardo was sitting in the car doing a seat fit, and I pulled out the Dale Earnhardt Senior camera that I have, and I know that I've pre-planned this in my head.
That's
right.
where you got number 3 from the Dominator.
He's a big Dale Earnhardt fan, and he always has been. Like, he chose it as his racing number. He has a Dale Earnhardt tattoo. Like, the guy is a diehard Dale Earnhardt fan, and he's also a photographer. He really likes photography. So I walk up to the front of the garage and I pull out this camera, and everybody thinks that the drivers are blind, or that they're not like looking around and seeing what's going on in their world. Like, if you're sitting at a stoplight in your car, you're looking around. Like, you're looking at the other drivers next to you, you're looking at what's going on in front of you, you're watching, the homeless guy begging for money on the street. Like, you're looking around. These drivers are doing the same thing. And he looks up and he sees me, and he sees me taking pictures on this camera, and he just starts laughing. And he's like, what is this? Like, he literally just asked so many questions about it. And I did some pictures on the film camera. I did some pictures on the digital camera. And then he got out of the car and he walked over, and he like just wanted to see it and like hold it. And that was like, it was a really cool moment for me, because it's Daniel Ricciardo. He's slightly famous, but also, he's a Formula One driver and also a photographer. And we have this mutual shared interest. And it opened a door that I would not have had that door opened if it was just me standing there with my mirrorless camera or DSLR. Doesn't matter what lens I have on it. He's seen all the lenses in the world. He's seen every single weekend. He's got 400 millimeter lenses pointed at him. So when you pull out a NASCAR like dinky little film camera and point it at him, that's different. So it's been a journey. Like, I kind of just kept rolling with it, not knowing what I was going to do with it, and it wasn't until much later down the line, like almost at the end of the year last year, where I was like, I got asked enough about these pictures, and the pictures from some of these events went semi-viral on Instagram and Facebook, and people were really appreciating the results from it. Like they were like, film or not film, like that's a nice picture. Like, and that's what I wanted to prove to people. It's like it's not about the film. It's just a nice picture is a nice picture. It doesn't matter what you make it on. But people were really, very complimentary of the pictures that were coming out of this camera, and also surprised at the quality that was coming out of the camera. And I was like, yeah, because it's not about the camera, it's about the photographer holding the camera. And that's what it's always been about. And so it was really fun to just kind of have this really and be a process that I could kind of have fun with, just laugh about, collect all these little cameras. They break a lot. And the book kind of was a genesis of all of that.
Jamey, let me ask you, actually, as you're mentioning how popular the pictures became on Instagram and social media, do you find that there's probably an irony there that the people who are film elitists are probably also falling in love with your pictures because they're film?
Yes.
Right. And so how does that make you feel? Because then there's this, you've got this sort of chicken and egg thing going on here, or something, that you're trying to make a statement, and then those people are probably in that group who are enjoying your pictures. So
I mean, ultimately, like, I want people to just appreciate racing, and through the photography of racing. And what I've really enjoyed about the book is that it's kind of almost more of a, for me, it's not like the really serious work. Like, I've had so many comments from people, Reddit especially. Like, I don't know what toxicity exists on Reddit, but it's horrible.
yeah.
But like the film subreddits are just next level, just so just aggressive and toxic and mean. And I would like put up some of these pictures, and people are like, why are you wasting your access with these cameras? I'm like, I'm not there to shoot film with my access. I'm not there to take a Canon A1 and a 50 mil, or do what I think his name is Miles, Expired Film Club, is doing on Instagram, like with covering sports with film. Like, I'm not there to do that. I actually have a job doing this for a living. This is how I pay my bills, is through racing photography. I just happen to be able to put one of these cameras in my belt bag that doesn't take up any space, doesn't take up any room. And I can kind of take a picture once I'm done with my work stuff. Like, I'll do my work, I'll do my pictures that I have to do for my clients, and then when I feel like I've maximized that, then I'll take that film camera out, and whatever's left, I'll kind of play with it. And sometimes, some of these, it's not, and unfortunately, it's not even going to be in the book, but there's a really good example of this that happened this year at Le Mans, where we did a shoot with the Toyota hypercar. And we're up at the Dunlop Bridge, which is a really famous corner and part of the track at the Circuit de la Sarre, the Le Mans. And we have like an hour with these two cars, and we have a video crew that's faffing about, and we've done our part as the photographers in about 4 minutes. And so I'm just standing there. I've done it, I've worked it with the digital cameras, and I'm like, you know what? It's time for the film camera. And I pull out the film camera and just can kind of like play with it and shoot it. And it's like, once I'm done with my work, then I'm pulling out the film camera. And sometimes the scene changes, or the light changes, and the moment changes, and you can kind of get something different than you did with the film camera. Like, there's one example that actually is in the book that I wish I'd had it on digital, and I got it on film instead. And it was at Abu Dhabi last year. And at the end of, it was like like after qualifying, they had all of the cars, all 20 cars lined up on pit lane, and the F1 movie producers were going down the pit lane and taking a picture. So all the mechanics were there, posed with their car, and Brad Pitt and some of the other cast members came down and took a picture with each crew to thank them for all of their, like, everything that they'd given to the F1 movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. It's kind of fun. It's not great, but it's fun. And so they've got all the cars lined up, and I have this I see it happening in front of me, and I'm taking a picture of the Alpine Formula One team and crew with their car. Like they're doing a picture, and Brad Pitt's already left, but they're waiting to basically move the car, and they're doing another picture just for fun. And Fred Vasseur walks in front of the photographer, like the actual team photographer who's taking a picture of all of the mechanics and everybody. And Fred Vasseur, who's the team principal of the Ferrari team, walks in front and just kind of does like a big hand motion, like almost like the Egyptian.
Yeah.
And he just like walks in front of this picture. And the fun thing about these film cameras is that they're actually a fairly slow shutter speed. Like I have no control over anything. Like there's no settings, nothing. And so Fred Vasseur is walking by and I see him doing this and I go like click. And you have to really push on the shutter button. Like it truly, the thing is just junk, like from start to finish. And so you have to like sometimes push the shutter like hard several times to get it to actually activate the shutter. And the shutter is a slow shutter speed. It's probably between a 60th and an 80th of a second. I obviously don't know because it won't tell me, but like that's about what it is just based on my experience with racing. And Fred walks in front and I'm basically having to like pan Fred as he's doing the Egyptian kind of, and I happened to get it and it worked and it's sharp as these things get. But it was one of those, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd gotten that on digital, not on this junk film camera. But like that's kind of one of those things, like they're really frustrating to use. It's definitely there's been lots of like missed moments, missed opportunities, with film. Anybody that's ever shot film, you're going to get people's eyes closed so much of the time because especially on a single shot, like I click and then have to wind it. So you don't get a burst out of it. It's like click, wind. And they're frustrating.
Yeah. And we go back to the book, directly to the book. And I don't know why my phone is ringing, but I'll get rid of that. So, I mean, you've got content in here that goes right up to, I think, is the Quebec Lamborghini experience this last winter. That's like February.
Yep.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. Here we are in November and it's already coming out. So this is an aggressive timeline, not just to get together the content, which is it's chronological. It's pretty straight chronological order that the images are put in the book. I'm just wondering about your experience with getting the book together and working with Trope, and what that was like for you.
So that was the other thing is people have asked me like, why don't you do a book with your digital pictures? And my answer is because I don't want to look through the however many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pictures I've taken over my professional racing career. Like there's some pictures I'm very, very, very proud of and stuff that nobody has ever seen in my digital archive. And I would like to do a book one day, but that day is not today. And so I had maybe 1,000 pictures from 100 rolls ish, like maybe like 1,600 rolls or 1,600 pictures that I kind of narrowed down just throughout the junk ones, like the stuff that's never going to pass muster. I kept it anyway, but they're not super sharp or just somebody's eyes are closed or whatever. And so I was able to like look at it and just really narrow it down to, they gave me page options, like how many pages I want to do. I'm like, I don't really know, but here's the pictures that I like. And so looking at that amount of pictures was much easier for me to handle than having to look at 400,000 or like Larry Chen's book. He looked at over 5 million pictures, I think, which is just like mind numbing to me that I could not sit and look at my own work for that amount of time. Even if people would really like the end product, I couldn't do it. So just to be able to look at like a much smaller number of pictures and be able to like pick 3, 4, 5 pictures from each event that then, or sometimes more depending on the event, but to be able to narrow it down, the Trope team has been incredible, just like helping me kind of figure out what the layout, and they've done so much of the work that I just gave them the pictures, and a lot of it, the rest they've handled, which has been really, really cool to to have not have that to worry about that. But at the same time, when you get the actual book in hand, like I'm really proud of how it came out. It looks great. The pages or the paper feels great. Like everything has been really, really incredible and easy as far as that goes. It was really just for me, the hardest part was, taking essentially 100 rolls of film or so and narrowing that down to, you know, 200 pictures or so.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a thick book. It's great, and
Yeah.
and it's kind of a keepsake for me because there's Daytona from this year, and I attended, and so that's kind of cool to have that personal connection to it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
But I'm just wondering for you. I mean, we're talking about the difference between film and digital. Look, think about the philosophical side of things a little bit more. I mean, it's frustrating to use the cameras and all that kind of stuff in that experience. And I think you had a local lab do the work for you in Charlotte.
Yeah,
To,
I'm really lucky that in Charlotte we have this like a really, really great camera store called Biggs Camera. And Biggs not only sells camera equipment and lenses and filters and all that, but they have a developing lab there that I can bring in. Like I did it the other day. I brought in 5 rolls. One of them was just personal. Like I do actually shoot film for personal reasons with of my kids, just playing in the backyard. We went and picked pumpkins and I shot film just because it's just a little bit, it slows me down a little bit, and I enjoy that process a little bit more than just blasting through a couple gigs of Lexar memory cards. But the like having Bigs, like I'll just dump 5 rolls in their hands and they'll have it to me then like within 24 hours or 36 hours at most. I don't think I've ever waited more than 40 hours for anything to come back. So, and they do such a great job. They just literally just send you a WeTransfer with all your pictures in high res. And then when the next time I'm in the store, they'll hand me the actual
negatives,
scan, the negatives, which is really cool. Because I have don't have them all, but I have most of the negatives. I don't know why, but I have them.
it's fine. It's cool. I keep all my negatives there. It was there with you on the day. That's what I always think about negatives.
Exactly.
So I'm just getting into the philosophical aspect. What has it done? You touched a little bit about with your family and slowing down and everything, and the satisfaction of bringing a book out. If you reflect a little bit, is there anything in terms of what you do as an artist or how you feel being an artist, what this project is doing for you or has done for you? Maybe it's early days because it's just come out, but
yeah, I'm most excited to just like have some of my racing work like be in, even if it's not the work that people necessarily know me for, that they can still have the pictures that I've made at these events, and that I've worked hard on these images, even though like it's a dinky little film camera. I'm still panning race cars. I haven't delivered any of these to my clients, but I'm still panning race cars and doing all the things that I do with my digital cameras, but having it in, I mean, there's nothing better as a photographer than having your work in print, like actually sitting in front of you. It's so different having it on a screen or on your iPhone or on Instagram, and having it in front of me, with a big, thick book that I really hope people will enjoy. And you don't have to like car racing to just see something fun in it. Like, there's a lot of just really cool pictures that I'm proud of just as a photographer. And it has definitely slowed me down where, and like I said, it's given me something to talk about with people. Like I was in Austin, Texas a couple weeks ago for the Formula One Grand Prix, and I'm sitting outside of Max Verstappen's garage, and I take a picture of Verstappen's car. He's not even in it yet. And I take a picture of Verstappen's car, and 3 of the Red Bull mechanics came up to me and they're like, "That is really cool." And they just wanted to see this camera, and they were so fascinated by it. And honestly, like I really enjoy like not making people laugh, but that racing isn't so serious, and because it can be really serious at times, but then at the same time it's car racing. We're not gonna go win Pulitzers over this. this isn't like war coverage. It's not political coverage. You're not a White House correspondent.
Right.
You're not sitting in the deadline, like the war room with, Obama, like at those like critical times where it's like, this is something that history needs to be documented. Like, we're just racing cars at the end of the day. And it's meant to be fun on some level. And I've really enjoyed that, like kind of bringing a little bit of fun to it. I've loved that.
Let me ask you something. As I'm not in the world like you and Ward are, because I'm sorry. I mean, I enjoy racing. I really love the book. And I actually want to say, like online, that thanks to Lauren for connecting us and sending us the book. So, first of all, it's a beautiful book. I love the way it's like you've got this textured type in the front, like the embossed, debossed, I should say, type. But because I'm not in the world, and this book is going to go out, it's going to be on bookshelves or in Amazon or whatever, so people like me might access it. What do you want someone like me who's not in this world to look for in these photographs? I mean, it's not just about film. You got a bunch of things going on here. You've got the film aspect, you've got the world that you're in, and you're showing it to someone like me who I'm not in that world. So what is it that you want me to see when I'm looking through your pictures?
I mean, honestly, for me, it's the human element. Like when I look at the pictures and I look through the book, there's very few pictures of there's just a race car in it. There's no other subject. Like if I look at any of the pictures in it and I look back through the pictures that I've taken, it's so few pictures where there's where it's just a race car on track, which is so much of my business work. That's like, here's the race car on the track. And because these cameras don't do well with like race car on track type of locations, like it's just it's a fixed lens. I can't do anything with it. There's only so close to the cars that I'm going to get, and there's only so, like, sometimes Monaco is actually really challenging. I've taken these cameras to Monaco twice now, and Monaco is really challenging because the cars are too close to you, because it's like a 45 or 50 millimeter lens ish, maybe 40. It's definitely not a wide lens, and it's definitely not a telephoto lens. So it's like that weird, like, I wish you were wider. Sometimes I also wish you were like a telephoto. But it doesn't fit the cars on track work at all. And so where it really excels is paddock, pit lane, and garages, and only when the cars are like medium close that it kind of works. And it's just hard to hit those, like, that perfect zone for on track stuff. So the rest of it is just people stuff. And I love, like, it's actually made me want and realize that really the best part of this book and my pictures and what we all look for is people stuff, because it's the human element of racing that really, is like a lot of what we seek out in racing or any sport, is the people side of it.
It's interesting because there's a little bit of a contradiction here in sort of the, you're in a world where it's fast. Things are going fast. You're photographing fast. You're doing all these things, and yet you're going with a film camera, which is also, you said, to force you to slow down. So how do you reconcile those two things? You can't slow down in the middle of a race, and yet you pull out this little camera, and you are technically slowing down to take this shot. And so, like, what's your mindset going through? Like, what's are you like Speedy Gonzalez at one point, and then slowing down, in another? So it's an interesting kind of mix here that's going on.
In some ways, yeah, but ultimately that's our job as photographers, is almost to slow down time and to see those moments unfolding in front of us, no matter how fast that they're happening. I've covered the Indianapolis 500 in 2019, and cars during Carb Day are doing like 230 miles an hour past you, and it's mind numbing, truly, how fast they're going. But at the same time, you go to pit lane, or you go to the garage area, and it's like everything's almost everybody's very measured in what they're doing. Nothing's rushed. Like some of the most amazing and insane things I've seen, where especially at Le Mans, where a car will crash. Like the Toyota team, I've watched them do this. They're magicians with a car. The mechanics are magicians. They had to do a gearbox change on this car, which is incredibly complicated. Like it's a rocket ship. It's a spaceship with wheels, and they have they had to do a gearbox change on this car because one of the drivers jumped a curb too much, landed the car, and they were like, something's not right here. Like the car's something's off. So during qualifying, which is an hour long, he did this in like the first 5 or 10 minutes of qualifying. They brought the car in, they wheeled it in, nose out, back toward the garage, took all the parts off of it, took the engine out, took the gearbox out, put a new gearbox in, put a new engine in, and then put it all back together. And it was like maybe 30 minutes. And all these guys, like there's like 15 guys running around underneath the car, screwing bits and pieces into the car, and nobody's like they're moving fast, but they're not rushed, if that makes sense. And so it's all so measured that's kind of how motorsport photography is yes, it's all happening really fast in front of us, but even with film or even with the digital cameras we're using, it's our job to slow down time, to capture those moments, to look for those moments that maybe it happened only for a tiny fraction of a second, like literally a moment where somebody's eye, like a mechanic's eye, just looks up at the right moment and catches a glint of light bouncing off the car from the pit gantry or something. Like, but I'm waiting for that. Like I know it's possible. I'm waiting for it. I want it to happen, but it doesn't. There's no guarantee that it's going to happen. And it's such a fun feeling when it does happen that you're just waiting for it. Like you're just waiting in the bushes essentially for this perfect moment, and it all just comes together and you capture it. And I put it on Instagram and nobody gives a shit. Like literally, they're just. It doesn't mean anything to anybody because they weren't there sitting with me waiting for this moment. They didn't know how special this moment is. It's, that's the frustrating side of social media, is that you don't have, like, there's no reward for your hard work. Like the most boring pictures, the pictures that take the least amount of talent are the ones that just go like super viral. It's a picture of a red Ferrari, like not even bouncing over a curb, but just tight, big shot of Ferrari filling the frame. And everybody just goes nuts for it. And then I could literally be lying in the rain, getting a puddle shot with a reflection, and you get sparks coming off the bottom of a car, and you put it on Instagram and it gets like crickets. Like literally nobody sees the pain that I was in. I was soaking wet. My cameras are essentially submerged to take this picture, and you put it on Instagram and they're like, it's not your best work. And that's like, that's the frustrating side of social media. And to have like, these cameras, these little dinky NASCAR cameras, even if somebody that looks through it doesn't look and study every single picture, like you can't expect every single person to look through and study every single picture. At least it's there in print. It's in front of you.
Yeah, now you've got this.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
You've got this, yeah.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about the qualities of the images in here too. Maybe it's just because of our generation, how we grew up with, snapshots on film and point and shoot cameras, but there's a sunny reflective, or not reflective, a nostalgic feel to them. Like they're all like, I don't know if there's part of the processing of the way the images are scanned. They're like, they have a luminosity, like they're projected.
That's all thanks to a really terrible plastic lens.
Yeah, and I think it makes it. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, and that's one of the things that you look at the pictures and it doesn't feel like 2024 or 2025 racing coverage. It feels like something from the 80s or 90s, or let's call it the late 90s, because it is. That's when these cameras were made. The film was in its heyday in the late 90s. It was before digital. It wasn't an option to shoot digital. And these cameras are from that time that, you know, I would love, like, I haven't had the chance to cover a NASCAR race with them yet. I would love to have that opportunity at some point. And when I do, I'm going to go absolutely nuts with it. Like, I'm probably going to bring like 20 rolls with me.
Right.
But, you know, it is really cool to have that feeling, where it does feel like it's different than a digital picture. But yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it seems
film,
like it seems like that it's more like memories, like holiday memories, than it is, you know, your product shots or your documentation or your,
exactly.
you know, you're hanging out the back of a minivan taking pictures of a Lamborghini, you know, going down
even
the
if
track.
I shot all this on a proper film camera, like a Canon A1 or pick your film camera, it would feel very different because you're shooting on proper glass. Like, it's a nice, like, I have an A1 with a 50 millimeter f1.4 that my mom used to, it was my mom's camera from the 80s. Like, I found it in a closet. She hasn't used it in 25 years, 30 years. And I was like, can I have this? And she was like, yep, get it, get rid of it. And so that's what I use for my family stuff, because I don't necessarily, I have shot my family and my kids on these film cameras. And one of my absolute favorite pictures of my daughter that I've ever taken, whether it's on phone, digital, film, was on one of these stupid NASCAR cameras in California at Laguna Seca, in California, on one of these, and she's running down the beach, and she's 2.5 years old at the time. So she's running down the beach and it's panning her. So it feels like it has that dreamy feel, like, because it's a really terrible plastic lens. It's not a quality lens. And it's definitely like, it captures those moments so differently than you know, my iPhone does.
Well, I think on that personal note, I think we'll wrap. So Jamey, where can we find you on the internet?
I'm on most social media platforms, from YouTube to Threads and TikTok and Instagram and all the places at Jamey Price Photo.
Okay.
Yeah. Jamey, thank you. Thanks so much, first, for giving us your time tonight and joining us and letting us have a look into this world that you're doing. I feel very privileged, because I feel like I'm getting the insider look that I never get to see. And maybe someday I'll go and photograph these. Maybe you'll have some tips for me to, like, how do I get in here? How do I get to know someone like you, you know?
I mean, Ward can tell you, like, honestly, I think racing, like, it truly doesn't matter what you're shooting, whether it's digital or film or your iPhone. Racing is so much fun because it's for everybody. Like, literally, there's something for everybody. Whether if you like people photography, it doesn't get any better than racing. If you like action photography, it doesn't get any better than racing. You know, you go to an event like the Daytona 24 or Sebring 12-hour or Petit Le Mans or the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's just such a cool experience to be surrounded by so many other like-minded people, because I can't think of another, not even sport, but like anything where photographers, hundreds and hundreds of photographers, all show up to the same place, and you can talk gear, you can compare notes, you can compare shutter speeds, you can compare pictures. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like showing up at the Tetons at sunrise at 6 a.m. and there's maybe like another 100 people all taking the same picture, but you know, they're not taking the same picture at a race. Like, everybody's doing something different. The mountains aren't going to move when you're at the Tetons, but the cars are moving. And for the price point, you know, $150 or whatever it is to go to Daytona from Wednesday to Sunday night is pretty amazing. And to be able to bring your camera and do any of it, like, you definitely need to come to a race and come to experience it, because there's literally something for everybody, no matter who you are, what you like, whether it's cars or people or photography, or just want to watch race cars go around in circles for 24 hours.
Okay, well, I'll make sure I show up at one of the races with the book. So say he's going to sign this for me. So can you let me in?
And you can get in the signature lines and have the drivers sign some of the pictures too. They love signing that
I'll
other
have to
stuff.
bring a big box of them down to Daytona this year.
Yeah. Well, Jamey, hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, and good luck on all the future trips you've got coming up, and hopefully we'll see another book come out next year or with your NASCAR stuff. So
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. It's been fun.